What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relay reverse rants, no hate. Now, let me start this video off by first saying, salute. It's been a while, but I'm just gonna, I want to get this out. Salute to Jamel Charlo and Castano for putting on, a solid performance, a solid fight from both dudes. And Jamel Charlo did what he was supposed to do. He got the victory. A lot of people was doubting that he would win. They were saying, "Oh, I think he lost the first one, and he was gifted that," and all those things. So you basically know Castano is no pushover, and basically the better man won. Got the stoppage, I think, the 10th round, and you know, um, finally, which it really doesn't matter overall what pound for pound list they put you on. You know, um, I saw example. I think it was Ring Magazine and ESPN's ranking system, or how it went, whichever one of them. One of them didn't even have Bevel rated at all, and have ranked at all. And then even though after he beats Canelo, they still had Canelo ranked higher. And they'll say, well, it's because Canelo still have belts at 168. Well, what does that have to do anything? I don't care what belts weight class he has belts at. He lost. So why is Bevel not put up there above him? Politics, man. It's BS. We know that. But shout out to salute to both of those guys. Now, salute to Tank Davis. He stopped Rolly Romero. And my thing is, one, let me just say this. People talk everything about Tank. Oh, he ain't fought nobody, which is BS. He might not have gotten to the Ryan Garcias yet. The Lopez's, all these other guys. You know what's funny is after he beat Tank Davis, people were saying, "Oh, big deal, he beat Tank." Wait, you were the same guys that was saying, "Yo, I ain't gonna lie, I think Rolly gonna pull it off." Yeah, I think Rolly gonna be too big and too strong, which is exactly what Rolly thought. All you kept hearing Rolly talking about was he hits way harder than this guy. He's way bigger, and Tank gets hit by everybody and all this. I'm gonna knock him out in the first round, and you guys were starting to believe that. Remember, he was telling people, "I'm telling you, bet your house, bet everything. I'm telling you, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna knock him out," and just talking. When you guys forget that the last time we saw him in the ring was against a guy that really beat him, and he promised a rematch and never did it. And Jackson Martinez, and he never gave him his rematch. So his last performance was a performance that most people feel like he was gifted a win. You haven't seen him do anything but talk, and do these weird training videos. Where I remember a video where he was doing the George Foreman tactic with the holding the arms out and holding, pushing. You didn't see any of that against Tank. And people were saying that, oh, but Tank was down the scorecards. Yeah, they had him down by one round. But guess what? It doesn't make a difference. If Sugar Ray Leonard was behind on the scorecards and came back and got a knockout, he's a great fighter. If Ray Robinson was behind on the scorecards and came out on top, he's a great fighter. If Canelo was down on the scorecards and came and got the knockout, he's a great fighter. So what's different for Tank? So don't go and say now all of a sudden Rolly Romero's a shit fighter when you guys had him winning against him the same way when he was calling Tank short arm, dinosaur arms, he's a midget. The funny thing is they're probably like an inch and a half apart in height. Brandon Rios was way taller than Tank. Right? And look what happened with him. You fight a guy that Keith Thurman comes off for a long layoff and fight, and the excuse was that, oh, but it was because of the layoff, but he looked good, he still got the win. Right, but this same guy was knocked out by a 135 pounder. So Tank says he feels comfortable at 135, so okay. Then basically, we want to see these fights. When he made that comment to Leonard Ellaby when he said, hey, you know what, get that money up, get that money up. You didn't hear him say anything about give me the opponents I want. You heard him say get that money up. So there's no telling that. There's no guarantee that if he was with Top Rank or any other organization that it would automatically mean that we're going to get those fights. I mean, let's be real. Terrence Crawford after all this time finally was able to get in there with Sean Porter. You understand what I mean? So there's no guarantee. Eddie Hearn himself even said, even if I was to manage Terrence Crawford, I can't promise that I could get him the fights that he wants. So it's not about just because you go to a different team, different management company. Basically, if they're offering more money, that's one thing. And it all could have also been capped too, just to get more attention to the situation. Who knows? But from what we understand, he's re-signing with Mayweather. Okay, so regardless, the point is we want to see these fights. If they happen, they happen. If they don't, they don't. Should they happen? Of course they should. But at the end of the day, this guy is a three-weight division champion. Get a man his credit. They had pulled the biggest gate in a boxing match in the Barclays Center. So now you got to stop talking all this, oh, he ain't no star, he ain't no. These guys have not been on had the star power that Floyd had, or Canelo has had, or De La Hoya, or Anthony Joshua, but they'll get there. And the bottom line to me is not so much about the star power. It is in terms of how much attention you can bring to the sport, but in a vain way, just as far as comparing who's the biggest draw, I really don't care about all of that. It's all about the fights. Because see, anytime, just like a business, right? It's just like, for example, you remember how hip hop started and it was just something for the streets, and then it started to grow, right? And it was looked at, people was like, rap is crap, it's not even music. Now it's the biggest form of music in the world. The biggest. And before, rappers had to go to R&B or rock groups or pop singers to get that rub, to get more recognition. Now, guess what? Pop singers, R&B dudes, reggae dudes, they're going to hip hop artists going, hey man, we want to do a collab. Their companies, hey, because they're the biggest, most popular guys now. So anytime something becomes a machine, it gets watered down. It becomes pop. It's no longer the essence of what it was. It's gone. And that's what happens with a lot of fighters. The bigger they get, they start, okay, let me start picking now. I want to fight this guy. You know what? I want to fight this person. Basically, as fighters get older, they start to become more of eeny, meeny, miny, mo than when they were younger. Okay, that being said, Tank did what he had to do. Get a man his credit. Riley talked a lot of shit. A lot of people, oh, you gotta love Riley. Oh, this guy's entertaining. I don't find it entertaining. What I find entertaining is what you do in the ring. He talked a lot of shit. He made himself really feel like his size and power was going to be enough. You can telegraph the guy's punches. Tank looked way smaller than Riley in that ring, physically. I ain't talking about height. I mean, just physically, he looked way smaller. Riley might have been fucking 155, 160. He looked way bigger than Tank in that ring. It didn't work, though. Tank set him up. Tank baited him in. He was patient. He showed poise. And he doesn't get enough credit for his boxing skills. Everybody's excited about the knockouts, and that's what they look at. And here he is now knocking out guys way bigger than him. Nobody's calling him a weight bully. Nobody's calling Riley a weight bully. Y'all call Errol Spence a weight bully. Y'all said that Shakur Stevenson was way too big for Valdez. He should be fighting at 140. Okay, nobody's saying that about Riley. There's always certain fighters that people try to give a green light to as for what they should and shouldn't do. But at the same time, Tank did what he had to do. He got the job done. I don't care about people that are saying, oh, he didn't look good. No, he did look good. He basically showed he can stick to a game plan. He knew what he had to do. He said the first punch Riley threw, he knew, okay, he could bang. All right, I ain't going to sit down with him just yet. Tank is smart. And like Tank told him in the press conference, he said, man, you all power. You don't have no skill, man. Like you just all power. Now, I will say this about Riley. This was the smartest I've seen him fight out of every fight he ever had. He was stand behind the stick. He was trying. The problem was this: he doesn't know how to put punches together without doing things to allow you to telegraph his shots. Riley will throw a shot. He steps first before he throws his shots. He does certain movements, and he's so straight up. It comes in a straight fucking line. He doesn't move his head, so when he's about to throw, you know it. Now, if he does throw a combination, something might get through because he's not slow. He is quick. His hands is kind of quick, but Riley basically he doesn't know how to be patient and set shots up and box his way into getting a knockout. He basically tries to knock you out with every shot. So in this fight, he was working behind the stick, but again, even though he was working behind the stick, he still the whole thing. He tried to throw the home run shot every time. Now, what he did to make himself look foolish, Yeah, he did that before the fight, but after the fight, it was a lucky punch. All that happened was he threw a punch and I walked into it. Well, that's all that needed to happen, Raleigh. That's all that needed to happen. And it happened. You claim you was going to make him look the way Adrian Broner did when Maidana hit him. But then guess what? You did exactly what Adrian did. You did it. That's the funny part. You did it. You got knocked out by a 135-pounder when you yourself, he talking about him and Ryan Garcia going to fight at 147. So you know that you're too big for that division, but you can make the weight. It's not something new. A lot of fighters have done it, many fighters, and they're going to continue to do it. But at the end of the day, all the excuses, and now all of a sudden he's a bitch, he ran like a bitch, oh, he's a pussy, oh, the referee stopped the fight too soon, bro. You had no fucking legs. Even after the ref stopped it, you were still stumbling around the ring. Let's just say it like it is. You got knocked the fuck out. You lost the fight. Simple. The better man won. But no, we have to go into these excuses. Along with that, what happens next for Tank? We'll see. Does he get Ryan? I don't know. I've heard Pitbull Cruz's name came up. And basically his name came up because pretty much it was a fight where it was a good fight. Now, Tank clearly won the fight, but Tank hurt his hand in that fight. And he couldn't use, I think it was his left hand. If I remember correctly, I think he hurt his left hand. But anyway, so I guess if that fight was to happen, it would be so he can just say, okay, look how I dominated him this time. Or it was a different fight this time. I personally don't really care to see a Pitbull. I don't care to see the rematch, honestly. I'd rather see him fight Ryan. I'd rather see him fight, a Shakur Stevenson, one of those guys that, that's if Shakur comes to 130 on 135. But at the end of the day, my whole thing is this. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. And it's not about who you like or don't like. You have to deal with the reality of what happens in that ring. And, Ryan Garcia is a guy who basically ran from the guy who I'm about to mention, which is Devin Haney. Okay, he ran from him because he was his mandatory and chose to, I'm fighting the exhibition against my idol, Manny Pacquiao. That never happened. But he walked away from the mandatory spot. Now, let me just say this, okay, and salute to Tank Davis and Rolly Romero for getting in there and doing what they had to do. Let me say this about Kambosos and Devin Haney. Kambosos, the more he talks, the less I'm interested in him as a fighter. Because he talks a lot of rubbish. First off, Lou DiBella at the press conference said both of these guys wanted that smoke. No, they didn't. No. Kambosos didn't want this fight. He did everything in his power to make Devin Haney say, man, I'm not going for that nonsense. Okay, the fight has to be in Australia. I'm the champ. Okay, check. Well, okay, even if I lose, the rematch has to be in Australia. Okay, check. Well, not only is the rematch in Australia if I lose, but even in the rematch, I get the lion's share of the money. Okay, check. Anything else? He made every excuse, every stipulation to try to make Devin Haney say, man, hell no. That's some suckers. I'm not doing that. Now, here's the thing, okay, and understand this. Kambosos was so focused on fighting Lomachenko. Even the fans were saying, yeah, but Lomachenko and Kambosos is a much bigger fight than him and Haney. Based on what? Since when Lomachenko became a superstar? And here's a guy who was out of commission for a long time, came back, had one fight, he won, and he looked good against that opponent, fine. But Devin Haney's been here, been fighting. And pretty much they tried to undermine his fight. Now, let me say this as well. Paulie Malignaggi and Antonio Tarver, and I forget this woman's name, but they were doing some show, some little podcast they have going on. And, Paulie was very vocal and downplaying Devin Haney. And he made a comment about how he knew, pretty much what his role was, what he should or shouldn't do in the ring. And he made comparisons to him and Haney in terms of, him, if he knew he couldn't, stop a guy, it was, a real athletic guy that could punch and get in it, he knew that was his disadvantage. Well, first off, let me just say something. There's a difference between Haney and Paulie, and I believe clearly that Haney would have beat the shit out of Paulie. Two, nobody's ever walked through Haney. We've seen people walk through Paulie Malignaggi. Okay, Paulie never had the ring IQ that Haney has. Now, him saying, I'm not sure if Haney's it can do that, in Tarver the same way. Oh yeah, I'm not sure if this guy can do that. I mean, because he's saying, when is he going to stop the capping, stop acting? He doesn't realize George Campbell. Listen, Devin Haney doesn't have to feel like you. No fighter has to feel the way the fans do or observers do. Okay, now if you feel like he's being unrealistic because he feels like he's way better than George Kambosos, you're not going to talk us into believing or not believing, or at least not with me. The whole thing is, it doesn't matter what either fighter says. It comes down to what happens in the ring. But all this nonsense, and that's something that they both would not say, is that no, he was forced into this fight. When he said, I could have fought anyone. I could even fought the gas attendant or some guy outside or whatever. No, you was forced into this fight. And Tarver or Paulie, neither one of them mentioned that. The only thing that Paulie made effort to mention was, oh, I'm glad that you said that, because if I say it, I'm called a racist and all this and this, whatever. No, because you make racist comments. You say stupid shit that sound racist, even if that's not your intention, which I don't see how it couldn't be. But you make shit sound racist when you say certain shit that you said. And what Tarver was saying, okay, about him overlooking, what Kambosos did and how Kambosos came up, and Kambosos have already been tested. First of all, let's just be realistic. You're talking about Kambosos' resume. Until Kambosos fought Teofimo, who the hell was talking about George Kambosos? Not that he's not a good fighter, but who was talking about him? So when you're talking all of a sudden now, all this talk about what Kambosos did and what he's used to, and he's been through the trenches. Listen, just like Paulie said, Floyd made things look easy. He made things look easy even when it wasn't. Let me explain something to you. Haney has been boxing people and winning every round. Maybe 1 or 2 rounds that could have went the other way, but for the most part, just shutting guys out. He doesn't have to knock you out. But nobody has ever walked through his shots. We will see what happens come fight night. But at the end of the day, all these shenanigans and antics, oh, this guy's a rat, he's a snitch, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's calling me, talking about his own countrymen. Well, Blue Blood pulls up a video and plays it, where you clearly hear George Kambosos going against his countrymen to support Pacquiao. I would never, ever not support my countrymen. He did all this talk about his country, but notice when that black guy asked him about, Jack Johnson winning the championship and bringing it home and what it meant to Haney, then he asked the same question to Kambosos, and what did George Kambosos? Well, it doesn't matter about how many people here, something to that effect. Like, at the end of the day, it's me and him. Oh, it's funny when somebody asks you the question. Oh, it comes down to what you and Haney gonna do in the ring, but on your own accord, I'm gonna have a whole country behind me. And see, he's acting really arrogant and cocky, and when people get to a certain stature, their true colors come out. So I just don't like his attitude, his cockiness, his arrogance. Nobody's talking about that. They call it confidence. But yet, when Devin Haney's confident, oh, he's overlooking George Kambosos. I don't think he really understands what he's in there with. Man, please. I've never had fear of no one, and never will. And if this guy's confident in himself that he's going to beat George Kambosos, so be it. George Kambosos should feel confident that, hey, I'm going in here ready to fight, and I'm coming to win. I'm not coming to lose. They both should have that attitude, that mentality. What fucking fighter is going to sit back and worry about what the fuck Antonio Tarver is saying, or what Paulie or anybody else is saying? To give a logical breakdown of what you see is one thing, but you're giving your fucking opinion to where you don't know what this man is feeling. But they're trying to downplay Devin Haney, both of them. Now, what's going to happen is what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, when people start using all these different antics, it's because they have fear. They don't want to show it. I don't care about trying to look tough and screw face. No, they have fear. The same way they screw face and their heart is boom, 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 boom. He's talking about the guy's a rat, he's a snitch, and all this shit that has nothing to do with boxing. Now, all of a sudden, I don't know if you guys heard, but all of a sudden, they finally clear. They finally clear Bill Haney to go to Australia. Even a cut man in Haney's corner. Or it was a problem with his visa. This is all to distract Haney as far as I'm concerned. This is to give Kambosos the edge mentally where he can focus and relax on the fight, whereas Devin is, man, I hope my dad can make it a however, because we know Yoel, Zab Judah's father was initially the guy that's supposed to be in his corner. And I'm pretty sure he's going to stay there as well, because let's just say something did happen and then, Bill don't make it on time. It's an 18-hour flight, man. And you're going to tell me that all of a sudden they just decide they could have worked on this way before the fight itself even happened. I don't want to hear, well, these things take time. No. This is all to give George Kambosos the edge. They're trying to pull out every stop to help their countrymen win this fight. What Devin Haney's going to have to do, I'm pretty sure he's aware. Him and his dad is going to say that, we want to thank the people of Australia for making this happen and put up the money, and we want to thank, they want to be they want to show appreciation and consider it hospitality, but at the same time, you don't want to say something where it's like, the judges may even be persuaded to go the direction of Kambosos. So it doesn't matter if, but none of the judges are Australian or American. So what? For that matter, shit, you got people from other countries that hate Americans. They might just go against just because. Like, you know what I'm saying? Understand my point. You have people that got the same hair as me, same skin as me, right? But they'll cheer against me, right? Because I'm not from their country. But the person they're cheering from might not look like neither one of us. Just because they're a foreigner, they're considered a foreigner to the country, or they're not American. It doesn't matter, man. It comes down to what's going to happen in that ring. So all of that other shit don't mean nothing, but I believe strongly that this was done on purpose. This was on purpose to distract Devin Haney, like I said, so he's not fully focused on the fight, but have other things he's concerned about that's, distracting him from his training and his mindset of going in there to do what he has to do. Like I said, it's an 18-hour flight. I don't know if Bill Haney, hopefully, he's already on a plane flying out to go down here, because, like I said, it's an 18-hour flight, and, they could have worked this out way ahead of time. Way ahead of time, man. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see the way things go. And hopefully, because I believe Devin Haney's going to beat the shit out of him. He's going to have to. Because I feel like if it's a close fight, there's no way in fuck. Even if it's a close fight where you can say Devin Haney 8-4, Devin Haney 7-5. I don't see them. I just don't see him getting his hand raised. The most I might see is a draw. If they don't just go full robbery and say that Kambosos won, even if you can clearly see, nah, man, he lost that fight. Because there's going to be a rematch regardless. So this way, Kambosos he still doesn't have a loss on his record. And then it will be a rematch. Win, lose, or draw. But Devin Haney's going to have to go in there and outclass him and make his shots. When he land his shots, that his shots land precisely. That's what he does. He doesn't really throw a whole lot of shots, but he throws very accurate shots. So when he does that, all that volume shit don't mean nothing, because you can cut his shots. You can cut a shot off. Timing is everything. And it's not like Kambosos is faster than Devin Haney. You understand what I'm saying? But Devin Haney, we'll see what's going to happen. And, again, like I said, I don't like that arrogant, smug little smirk. And the way Kambosos seems like a whole different person now. He's like, I'm the same old guy I always was. People say I'm arrogant. No, you are arrogant. You're very arrogant. And the way you're talking and speaking, you're doing cowardly shit to try to get an advantage. But if it was all about your skills, you wouldn't feel like you need to do that. So at the end of the day, I just want to see a great fight. And yeah, I hope Devin Haney beat the shit out of George Kambosos. And after he does, I hope he beat him again. And after that, I hope not only does he become unified champ, which is another thing, where Paulie's calling him the undisputed champ. No, he's not undisputed. This would not be, if he was undisputed, that would mean he has the belt. that Devin has. He's calling it a secondary belt. So the franchise championship, that is supposed to replace what Devin has. Okay, then that means if Kambosos wins, you can't say the new undisputed. He's not undisputed. He's unified, and they're not putting any respect on Devin Haney's name by saying that kind of shit. Paulie, that's some sucker shit that came out of his mouth. And if Antonio agrees, he's a sucker for that shit too. Plain and simple. So on that note, let me just say, what's going to happen is going to happen. But I want to see the right person get their hand raised, whether it's Kambosos or whether it's Haney. If I feel like Haney lost and they robbed, I would say, nah, Kambosos won that fight. That's one thing about me. No matter who I want to see win, I'm going to call it the way I see it. But he's going to have to go in there and dominate and show, man, you can't fuck with me. You can't touch me. And he's going to have to go in there and he's going to have to put it on this guy, outbox him, knock him out, whatever it may be, but it has to be clear and decisive. So it's more weight on his shoulders in terms of performance, but at the same time, he understands what he has to do. And that's what he needs to go in there and focus on, getting the job done, and don't worry about what people are saying and thinking, because when people want to see you fail, they'll see all kinds of shit. All of this WWE professional wrestling style promos calling people snitches and rats, and I would never want them to do with this guy, and he's talking about, I want to end this guy's career, I want to damage his career, all this shit because a guy wants to fight you. Okay? And to even consider TFA talking about because your countrymen. Look, I don't care nothing about all that shit. First off, if you notice, Tiafimo and Haney's been going at it back and forth because Haney was trying to fight him. And Tio did the same type of bullshit antics, trying to avoid him and talking like he wanted to fight, but he didn't want to fight. And that's why it never happened. Not to mention, you sitting up here talking about his countrymen. No, stop that shit. Because anytime a Latino fight a black fighter or any other fighter that's not Latino, what do you hear that the Latinos doing? And I'm talking, yes, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, all of them. I'm going with my countrymen. I'm going with this. They always go with the person that's their countryman. They always. So to sit here and say, well, my countrymen, that mean no. No, you wouldn't go with that. And like Raleigh said, Tank Davis is scared of Latino fighters. All this crazy shit that people talk is just nonsense. So at the end of the day, Kambosos is talking that shit about he's going against his countryman. I would never go against my countrymen. What you already been put on blast. Even before Blue Blood played that, other people brought it up, including myself, that yeah. But we all saw that. And I'm like, yeah, so we all saw the same thing. He's full of shit, man. And he needs this mental game advantage he's trying to get. He needs that. Because skill for skill, he's not as good as Devin Haney. And he knows that. So basically, if he can get in his head and crossing his fingers and hoping he does, that's what it is with him. So everything that was said about being a snitch, right? None of that has nothing to do with boxing. All we need to focus on is the two fighters that goes in the ring. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. Possible draw. But at the end of the day, that's all we focused on. I don't care about any of that other stuff. And you guys have never heard me make a video and I'm making fights about race and I look at the fighters and what they do. But at the same time, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't see the shit. And again, you always see anytime, like I said, all of those guys, whether it's Ryan Garcia, whether it's Tiafimo, who, no matter, they always, now when they come to them fighting another Latino fighter, they'll talk shit, I'll do this and this and this, but then they don't fight the guy. But at the same time, what happens when it's a non-Latino fighter fighting against a Latino fighter? They take the Latino fighter side. And you know that. So stop that bullshit, talking all this, you're going against your own countrymen. Yeah, okay. But anyway, none of that's going to save him in the fight. So we'll see what happens. May the best man win. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch you on the next video.